Spencer asks, what were the biggest pushbacks or questions you heard from investors during the raise process?
So interestingly, all the investors we've talked to, they're already in US. They already had done a lot of work on Airbyte to understand like the market, the ecosystem. So in terms of pushback, I mean, obviously there is always, it could have been that the valuation is too high. Not a lot of pushback, actually.
No.
Like questions was always about, what can be threats to Airbyte? How do you prove revenue? And at that point, it's really about the fact that we've already bootstrapped some of the revenue, and that also the numbers that we had for Airbyte Cloud. But that was pretty much it. John, anything you want to add?
I think we had one that asked about the multiples on revenues, and I would say that for us, okay, they don't understand open source, because with open source, because you've got so much inbound this community, if you manage to actually start converting companies, at that point your growth rate is crazy, like nothing compared to SaaS. So if you have an investor comparing you to SaaS metrics, at that point you understand that they don't understand open source. So it just wasn't the fit.
Bessemer wrote a really good article about open source business and how they have this hockey stick shape, because it's about adoption, and then for people who want to have like a paid version, they generally convert after a few years. After a few months, a few years, it depends, but what matters is adoption and really setting up the standard.
So I guess to clarify with Spencer's question, like since we didn't really get that much pushback, like how did we get into that position to not have much pushback? And the answer was basically setting up the open source model in this way.
So
I think it's just we have very strong numbers for open source, and we've always been very transparent to everybody, which was our focus is open source. Our focus is about growing adoption, growing the community, and our number, and that's what we've been really tracking with like very precisely. And at that point, it's either you understand how open source works or you don't. If you don't, that's okay. But if you do, then you understand that yes, we're in this hockey stick shape.
Actually, I love like Eric's question. What happens if Fivetran goes open source? So first, they don't have the DNA for that. Even if they do it, I don't think you cannot build a community without trust. I think what they've done is lose trust from their customers by changing pricing 4 times in 2 years, something like this. So I don't think they have the trust of the community to be successful at open source. So it won't be a right choice for them to do that.